recording.
Get those nerds!
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Shoo doggy, it's another episode of Bid Nerds, your daily nerd on the most interesting car of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. My name is John Polnik. I'll push the little button below so that you know that that is true, as well as my partner Michael Deeb right over there coming to you from San Francisco. How you doing, Michael Deeb?
Excellent, JP. Happy to be here. And I actually like this car that we're going to look at today. This is a car I've never owned one, and I would love to one day.
Well, this week, you're bidding on cars that we're that's the problem with this this gig that we do here. We dig through all these automotive enthusiast auction sites like Bring a Trailer, P-Car Market, Cars and Bids, and so on, and we keep finding cars that we want, and so it is terrible for our bank accounts because it's not uncommon for us to bid on stuff.
We need a big, powerful, Haggerty-like sponsor, a sugar daddy, so that we can not only do the show with somebody else's money, but then we could actually buy the cars that we're covering, bring them to Vegas, and then go over them and then show you what we would do with them and make films out of them and stuff like that and then sell them for profit. But, whatever. Baby steps.
That is a solid plan. I support it. How about you guys? How about you guys support us? Just a little bit. You don't have to give us any money, although we will take it. But really what we want you to do is hit the subscribe, like, and notification button. Do that right now. Subscribe to Bid Nerds. Share Bid Nerds. Let everybody know that the nerds are here for you, digging through these auction sites so you don't have to. Okay, so let's get right to the car because that's why everyone is here. What are we talking about today? Look at this shiny thing. Hello.
JP, look at that thing. I think Warren just bought one. DWA and formerly of Radwood fame. Warren just bought one of these. He bought, I think, a yellow 95. Our car today, JP, is a 1995 BMW M3. This is the E36 platform, and our car is listed on Cars and Bids. It's offered out of Miami, Florida, showing 41,000 original miles. Couple things of significance. JP, you might remember that the 95s employed a 3-liter motor, and although the output is very similar, the 240 horsepower, I think the torque is a teeny bit down at 225 compared to the 96 through 99 examples that used the 3.2 liter. The American cars all used a single, throttle body, whereas the European cars had the S54 motors and they had individual throttle bodies and made significantly more horsepower, although not a ton more torque. Our cars are vastly more reliable than those European counterparts, and while we in period looked longingly across the Atlantic and said, why don't we get the cool throttle bodies? Now when we look back 35 years later, our cars have held up a lot better than those European cars. You can watch a Jason Camissa video that will explain everything I just did there. The car is bright red, not my favorite color, but it does have the black interior with the Vader seats, which is really cool. The low mileage makes this one uber attractive, and I'd say that the fact that it's the early version, the 95 with the 3-liter, also gives it kind of a cool factor. What say you, JP? I love these, what they call BMW Style 22 wheels. I think that's my favorite wheel from the factory on this car. I'm curious to know if you echo the sentiment, or do you like that other one that's more like a 5-star pattern? But low mileage, vastly all original. There's no real modifications on this car, and finding one in this condition has become rare. As I alluded earlier, some of these early 80s and 90s BMWs are really starting to take off. I think you could have picked up this car, 6 to 8 months ago for like $20,000. But now with 3 days to go, this car's already sitting at $23,000. So it's very interesting to see what the final number will be for this vehicle. So my question to you, John, is do you love the E36 as much as I do? I've been a passenger in one on the track and really, really fell in love with it. But I've never really owned one. Did you ever have one of these in your collection of cars?
Oddly, no. This is a car that you would think I would have owned
I
at
would
some
think you've had
point.
5 of them,
Yeah, right. I mean, they really are incredibly capable cars. I'm not so sure, but well, so maybe you guys can help us out in the comments. S54 versus S52. Did they ever put an S54 in the American ones of these? I
No,
thought
no.
the S54
Only
didn't
the
happen
European.
until the E46. Okay, so that said, yeah, I mean these are incredibly
Maybe
bulletproof.
I'm not a BMW guy, so if I get my nomenclature wrong, what I meant to say is that while the E36 here had the single throttle body, the one in Europe had the individual body,
The
the
Vanos,
they
yeah.
were like 320 horsepower. So anyway, whatever. But these motors are actually really, really reliable. Time has told us now that they've done up really well, and now we're seeing prices follow that up market. So it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Boy, it's funny because I know so many people in the BMW world, and this car is one of those cars that boy, if you drive a 911, you know someone that drives an M3, because I think the two most iconic sports cars of all time are 911 and M3. I sure hate what BMW has done with their nomenclature. Now M3s are 4 doors. It used to be, you had the E9 or. Yeah, E30 BMW M3 was the first M3, and that was only in a 2-door. Then they came out with these E36s, and they had M3s in both 2 and 4-door, but they were still 3 Series. It was, you could kind of wrap your head around, all right, a 3 Series. It comes with different amounts of doors, but it's still this platform. Then the E46, they only had 2 doors, and then the E90 and E92, they had 2 and 4-door versions, and now the 4-door is the M3, and the 2-door is the M4. What does that even mean? I hate that stuff.
So stupid. Stupid. They really have jumped the shark with all that nonsense.
Yeah.
They've over-marketed and saturated, and in my opinion, and I think you agree with this, they've actually tarnished the M3 brand. They had
Absolutely.
Such an
They destroyed it. They
immaculate
just
reputation.
absolutely destroyed it. Yeah.
Ruined it. I mean,
Doesn't mean anything.
Stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But these cars are. I actually think this is the holy grail. As much as I would love to own a 4-banger E30 M3, I think this car here is the sweet spot. The steering on these cars is legendary.
And they are so amazingly capable. I mean, being a Porsche fanboy, when I got my first C4S 996, I don't know how many gajillion years ago that was. I used to drive with a lot of guys that had these, and I remember being a little bit of a, I was that Porsche snob dickhead or whatever, and we'd go tear up the back roads, and I've got 100 horsepower in these guys, and they're right up my ass, or I can't catch them. I mean, these are just formidable cars. My good friend Kai Roberts up in Seattle, he has
Ice Machine.
Violet. Ice. So he was the former owner of Ice Machine. You can see that Kremer 911 or 930 on Durfas Nation. But right now, or at least last summer, he had a Violet, one of the Violet purple versions of one of these, and we went and did the Highway 20 and the Turo GTI that I rented broke down, so I had to take a ride with him on the way back. So we had like 10 Porsches and his E36, and it just reminded me how good a buttoned-up version of one of these is. The problem with E36s, like you mentioned, it's hard to find ones that are in good condition because these were so cheap for so long. All the drift kids got a hold of them, and just they were just abused, and the doors were just beaten off of these cars. So abused. It's sad. But if you can find a clean one, holy cow, they are fantastic. Their AC sucks though. Even when they're in good condition, the AC is terrible on these. Did we lose you guys? What I was saying just before we froze up is our show froze up a little bit, but one thing that you'll never get to freeze is the interior of one of these E36s because the AC sucks, even in one that's in the best condition you'll ever find.
Oh,
so
really?
a little bit difficult for something like Vegas or where this car is from, Florida. You know how, if you've watched this show, you know that Michael Deeb are not big fans. Michael Deeb and I are not big fans of Florida cars, but this one looks like it's been kept in really good condition. All that said, Michael Deeb, how much will this car hammer for on its auction?
I didn't mean to serve dessert before dinner, but this car has about 3 days to go, JP. I think it's going to close on Saturday. It's at $23,000 at the moment on 10 bids with 3 days to go. So with that in mind, I like this car, and I think it's going to bring $45,000 because those super low miles. It's got sub 50,000 miles and Vaders. What more do you want in an E36 M3? So that's my bid. I actually appreciate that it's a 95 and it doesn't have a rear wing, and there's literally no aftermarket parts on this car. And I think for those reasons, I'm going to win. I think I'm going to get this one. I think.
What was your number?
45,000.
Wow. Has one ever sold for that much?
Oh,
I mean,
they're moving up, man. That's why we're doing the show. We got.
Yeah, boy, I guess I'm not informed on M3s. I knew they were coming up big time, but I would expect one with like delivery miles to be in that price range. But wow, what's that?
Are bringing, if this was a lightweight with 40,000 miles, it's a $150,000 car.
Whoa!
And if it was a lightweight that never got driven, say it was like a 4,500 mile car, that's a $200,000 to $250,000 car right now. So as lightweights are starting to break the collector car bank, it's pulling these nicer original examples that are non-lightweights up with them, and they are, like I said, while other cars are softening, these E36 BMWs are starting to bring real money. So they're a bright spot in the market. They're the SC of the BMW, you know?
Yeah. Well, great car for someone. I'm going to say 40. I don't know. I just haven't been keeping up on these. For me, this is a $5,000 car, and I know that's ridiculous. Don't go ahead and flame me in the comments if you want. I remember forever that E36s had a hard time breaking that kind of $10,000 mark. Now, granted, that's also for. I've always thought of these as one of the best bangs for the buck. But getting in the 30s for one of these, to me sounds ridiculous. 40s or 50s, come on, man. And it's an E36 M3. As good as it is, and there's just so many of them. Driving this car around, you'll be on the road, and, on the light next to you, some kid will pull up in one that's just beat to hell. I just don't think of these as special, even though they probably deserve to be special. But we're going to find out which one of us is right and which one of us is wrong right after this. Okay, guys, I want to tell you about Vegas Auto Fest. The drivers are coming. This is one of our big sponsors. It's the biggest car show of the year in Las Vegas. It's one of the coolest car shows you can possibly experience anywhere. If you haven't made plans to be part of Vegas Auto Fest on September 17th, then do it now. Go to vegasautofest.com and register your car. You think you're a car enthusiast? Doesn't matter where you live. Plan a trip to Vegas on September 17th and come out and see this show. It's like Monterey Car Week all in a day. Have you ever been to the Quail? Have you ever been to Works Reunion? Have you ever been to Amelia Island? All those car shows are amazing and great. Have you been to Luftkult? Sure, but Vegas Auto Fest is something special. Make a plan for September 17th. We'll see you in Vegas. All right, guys, welcome back to Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting car of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. We are talking about this BMW E36 M3 in Hellrot Red. Is that what that is? Hellrot Red? Did we say that before the break?
We didn't. It's Mugello Red.
Is it Mugello Red?
Mugello. It's a racetrack in Italy. That's a hot car.
That's a rare red then, because most of them of that era were Hellrot. So how cool is that? It's got like a bit of orange to it, right? It's kind of everyone's going, what are you talking about? We don't know what car. Let's go ahead and bring it up on the screen so you guys can see. Because I'm sure you forgot about what car we were talking about after the break, right? I mean, it hasn't been a week between the front and back of the break for you guys, the viewers, like it has been for us. All right, so... This cars and bids, what happened? How'd this auction end?
You know how this auction ended, JP? Doug DeMuro sucks. That's how this auction ended. Doug DeMuro sucks. Car bid sucks. You know why? Because this failed to sell at $37,000, and I thought for sure when I bid $45,000, I was going to spank your ass, and I thought I was going to win. You said 40 and took the conservative, and I'll have to ask you when I get done yapping about this car, if you were betting on the car or the platform, because you won this one. Our car failed to sell on 18 bids, petered out at 37 grand, and I will stand on my bid that if this car was on Bring a Trailer, it would have brought $45,000 because the condition is spectacular. The 95s with 3-liter are arguably the most rare of the breed. And this car is bone stock and presented in really nice condition. I think the only knock on this car, besides the fact that it was on Cars and Bids, JP, was the fact that the car is located in Florida. But outside of that, there's everything to like about this example. And I think that the seller got robbed, but it's his own fault for putting this car in Doug DeMero's my 45 grand. I stand on that. What do you think?
I'm still soft on E36 M3s. I know they've come up big on price, and I know they're great cars, but they'll never be worth squat to me, to be perfectly honest. As good a car as it is, look, I just remember back in the day, it just wasn't that long ago. I had a very good friend of mine that had a really nice black on black one of these, and the car had suffered an accident where it was totaled, and I remember him fighting with the insurance company to get like $9,000 for it, and he was like looking all over the internet and trying to find comps where that they were worth more, and he had a bunch of mods and stuff like that too. But to me, this car is just the idea that this being more than a $15,000 car it's just such a head scratcher. And even with inflation and all that, okay, great, maybe a $30,000 car because everything's twice as much. I just can't see spending more than $30,000 on an E36, especially when there's so many of them driving around that are just beat up hunks of crap because they were cheap for so long. So many people really abuse these cars. But I do agree with you that being on Cars and Bids was not the right place for this car. This is a wonderful example of a beautiful car that should have been on Bring a Trailer, and definitely would have brought, I don't know, I think it would have brought a little bit more money. I don't think it would have been much higher than 40. Maybe if it were, like you said, the super lights and some of the really genuinely rare ones are bringing big money, but it's not like this is a rare car. Clean ones are sort of rare, but there's a lot of E36s out there.
There are, but we don't see them come up that often in this condition. There's always a bunch on the market. And the funny thing about E36s, JP, is you can get this car in a convertible, you can get this car in a sedan. So here what we're looking at is this beautiful coupe that's not beat to hell, and I thought it should have brought a premium higher than 37. But anyways, you won that one, so congratulations. And to the seller, I want to say you played victim to Doug DeMero in Cars and Bids, but I also say you're an idiot for trusting him in the first place. So that car should have gone somewhere else. Anyway.
Platform matters. If you have a Miata or like some kind of, I don't know, Infinity or something like that with a manual. Look, I'm not knocking Miata.
No, I know. It's so true, though. It's so true. You're right. A a 370Z would do great on this platform, but this special M3, it should have been a bigger audience, and that bigger audience is BAT.
All right, Deeb. Well, maybe on the next episode we'll get you to talk into your microphone. But I'm giving you a hard time there.
Never.
All right, guys. Well, that's been another episode of Bid Nerd, your daily nerd out on all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. Look, hit the subscribe, like, and notification button so you know when the latest nerds are available. And we will be back tomorrow with an all-new Bid Nerds.
Nerd! Get those words!